Yeah, assisted living is basically accommodation whereby there's an added extra service to provide for the vulnerable tenant. This may include extra cooking facilities, assisting with domestic chores, etc, etc. The assisted living that we're providing is quite niche and unique in the fact that we're utilising a CBS charity, which is a community benefit society. A number of assisted living projects out there are generally for 5 to 7 years, where they're using just a registered provider, whereas we're actually using a CBS charity, so it allows a longer term study for the tenant that's in position, which gives them sustainability and ultimately security over tenure that they're going to be living in that property for a long period of time. I think the government are in a bit of a pickle at the moment in terms of both social and assisted supported living. There's a number of vulnerable adults in bed sits, in hotels, and local authorities really are bulging at the seam. Using a specialist CBS charity to monitor and look after these people allows the government to do it in a much cheaper way, but also in a much better way, and the tenant that is in situ gets provided with a better service. Yeah, I think it's a very suitable investment. We're a developer providing PRS properties, but I think this provides and mitigates a lot of the pitfalls that come with the PRS model. In terms of council tax being payable, voids not receiving income from, increasing ground rent and service charges, any damage that's done to the property. This model is very sustainable and provides all the solutions to a normal PRS model. We first started this off by on a yield play, and ultimately we're looking to resell the stock on via the option agreement. So we try to offer each investor sort of 100% on their initial investment. So government bonds and big funds were trading circa 3.5 to 4.5%. So we started off at a lower yield, and since the position of that's increased with increase in interest rates, we've increased that up to between 8 and 10%. The buyback option is for 3 years, so ultimately an investor purchases the property, and within the 3 years then we've got the option to trade that property on for them. That is triggered where we achieve a minimum of 30%. If we only achieve 30% based on the original purchase price that they've purchased for, then the initial investor keep all that 30%. Anything above that 30%, then we split 50-50 with that investor, and this is generally motivated for us to make that sale, so we're invested with the initial investor as well. The large institutional funds are interested in this type of product because it's long-term secured income, and that's what they're looking to bank. They're looking for something that's 25 to 40 years of secured government income. That's why they're interested in this type of product. I think the reason why they don't buy this direct is because they've not got the people on the ground to be able to facilitate that. It's very, very difficult to find one developer or one source of property that can provide their minimum clip sizes, which are typically anywhere from £25 million to £100 million. So it's very difficult to sort of amalgamate that level of stock all at once, unless it's with a developer who's had a proven track record and also manage a number of these buildings, existingly manages a number of these buildings, which we do. I think the assisted living model provides a complete hands-off approach to property investment. There is no maintenance costs because the leases are fully repair and insured. It also is CPI linked, which means that the rental values increase in line with CPI. There's no increases in service charge and ground rent to pay for because these are covered by the 25-year lease that's in place. And in terms of sustainability, you've never got a void. You've always got that tenant that's in situ paying the rent. So all the rents on the properties are CPI linked, so the Consumer Product Index linked, which last year averaged, I believe, at 9.1%. So the rents are only going to go upwards on a trend. They're collared at 0%, so they can't go below 0%. And I think if you look at, annually, on average over the last 25 years, CPI's averaged out at 4%. So if you're on a 25-year lease, the rental amount initially will double over the 25-year period if it follows the same trend over the 25 years. Yeah, so all the properties are owned by the investor that purchases the property, so they own the title deeds. After the 25-year lease expires, there's no security of tenure there, so after the 25-year lease expires, then the housing provider or the CBS charity that's in place would have to give the property back. At that point, it would be the original investor then that would own the title deeds. If people are buying on multiple blocks, we have done some trades where people have been able to get finance in place. I think this is generally down to the surveyors that are valuing the property for the lender. The surveyors that know this product are your big surveying companies like Savills, Knight Frank, Sanderson Weatherall. They value vacant possession, so they'll give a vacant possession price, but then they also have a special condition which shows the value of the lease, and that allows, on a bulk purchase, to be able to get finance in place. When you're dealing with just one block, these surveyors will not get instructed by the high street lenders, and as such you end up then with an estate agent that doesn't really understand the product, so they'll only generally give a vacant possession value, which will be less rather than a yield play that the larger surveyors value the properties at. There's no concerns regarding the void periods because the 25-year lease is in situ and they're responsible for paying the rent whether it's occupied or not occupied. Yale Housing have paid good money for an industry expert to advise, give them advice on what would happen if Yale did fall away. And ultimately, the governing body responsible for that type of support that was in place would be responsible to do a stock transfer from Yale Housing, in this example, to another provider and operator. The lease may be renegotiated, but not on the core rent that is provided. It may be renegotiated based upon the level of support that's needed for that tenant and the price to do that.